Today I will talk about 3 types of narcissistic personality disorder. According to classification systems, individuals with a narcissistic personality disorder suffer a pervasive pattern of grandiosity in fantasy or behavior, need for admiration and lack of empathy, beginning by late childhood or early adulthood, and present in a variety of contexts and indicated by 5 or more of the following. Number 1, they have a grandiose sense of self-importance. As an example, they exaggerate their achievements and talents, expect to be recognized as superior without the commensurate achievements. Number 2, they are preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or even ideal love. Number 3, they believe that they are special, unique, and can only be understood or should associate with other special or high-status people or institutions. Number 4, they require excessive admiration. Number 5, they have a sense of entitlement. As an example, they have unreasonable expectations of specially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with their expectations. Number 6, they can be interpersonally exploitative. As an example, they take advantage of others to achieve their own goals. Number 7, they lack empathy, meaning they are unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. Number 8, they are often envious of others or believe that others are envious of them. And number 9, they show arrogant, haughty behaviors and attitudes. Despite this clear classification, narcissistic personality disorder doesn't actually neatly sit in a single box. Individuals can have a variety of presentations and their symptoms can even change over time, making the diagnosis and indeed the way they present multifaceted. And as I always explain, these conditions are on a spectrum and sometimes many features can also be beneficial. As an example, in the subclinical range, the ability to charm and engage can have positive effects in the initial group formation and leadership roles, but often lead to adverse interactional outcomes over time when some of the other traits start to manifest. Now, this complexity is better understood when we consider the 2 main subtypes, the grandiose and the vulnerable. While there is a lot of emphasis on the grandiosity side of narcissistic personality disorder, the vulnerable side is often not emphasized enough, and research on brain science, which I will cover in a different video, has highlighted some evidence for this. We know that people who have a narcissistic personality disorder can have a fragile self-esteem, often feelings of inferiority, emptiness, boredom, and emotional reactivity or distress. So on the one hand, they may feel, I am special, I can influence anyone, I'm more capable. But on the other hand, they can feel very vulnerable, especially to criticism. Often this is when they use different strategies and behaviors to manipulate, like gaslighting amongst others, to keep control. This can leave the person at the receiving end with significant mental distress, as it almost alters their reality. So let's talk about the grandiose or overt subtype. This subtype is marked by overt displays of grandiosity, entitlement, and a disregard for others' needs. The individual often comes across as socially charming but is primarily focused on their own gain. And this charm often places them in good professional positions. You find that they boast about their accomplishments, exaggerate their successes, and downplay failures. Most conversations are about them, and somehow they are very good at bringing the conversation back to them. You may find they don't necessarily want to know much about you, and even if they tokenistically ask, you actually don't get much opportunity to talk about yourself. So what about the vulnerable subtype? In contrast, the vulnerable subtype hides their grandiosity behind a facade of insecurity and sensitivity to criticism. They may even say, I'm very sensitive. Interpersonally, they may appear shy and outwardly self-effacing, while internally they harbor feelings of secret grandiosity. Many try and make associations with people who they believe have a high status. Some may manipulate situations subtly to ensure that others recognize their perceived talents and cater to their needs without them having to explicitly ask. They may employ passive-aggressive tactics or play the victim to garner sympathy and attention. They are good at carefully crafting their image to appear vulnerable and in need of rescue, eliciting admiration and support from those around them. In relationships, they may appear overly accommodating, nurturing, sometimes even excessively to begin with, often love bombing, but their actions are driven by a desire to control and manipulate others to meet their needs. They may use emotional manipulation, guilt tripping, or gaslighting to maintain their sense of superiority and keep others in their orbit. Despite these differences, both subtypes share a profound self-absorption and a tendency to prioritize the individual's own needs above all else. Many individuals with narcissistic personality disorder can oscillate between grandiosity and depleted states depending on life circumstances, while others may exhibit a mixture of characteristics from both subtypes, highlighting the complexity of the disorder. And this is exactly what leaves the person at the receiving end in a state of almost an altered sense of reality, not knowing what to believe. As an example, someone who has been love bombed with 24/7 attention, praise, hundreds of messages in the initial phases of the relationship becomes hooked to this treatment. 6 to 8 months later, they start hearing, "You know how busy I am," or "I can't believe you keep asking me to meet or message. I have to spend time with my friends too who have problems. So you couldn't send me a single message in an entire week." And they would say, "Well, I can't believe you're asking me this question. Where is your empathy and understanding?" Of course, this leaves the person at the receiving end completely confused. In future videos, I will discuss the brain science of what happens when one is at the receiving end of this behavior. Now, additionally, there is a subset of individuals within this condition known as high-functioning subtype. These individuals display traits of grandiosity, competitiveness, attention-seeking behavior, and sexual provocation, all while exhibiting adaptive functioning and are adept at leveraging their narcissistic tendencies for success. Their high level of functioning can mask the symptoms of the condition, making the diagnosis extremely challenging. So to summarize, now we know that the core features of narcissistic personality disorder includes deficiencies in self-definition, self-esteem, and the regulation of emotions, as well as failure to establish internal goals and standards. Interpersonal relationships are typically transactional, serving primarily to bolster one's self-image or to achieve personal gain, with a notable absence of genuine intimacy. From a psychodynamic perspective, narcissistic personality disorder stems from a distorted sense of self. Individuals with the condition have a fragile self-esteem and rely heavily on external validation to maintain their self-image. This skewed identity formation leads to transactional relationships where others are valued only for their ability to bolster the individual's self-esteem. To emphasize again, this is a complex disorder. It has a varied presentation and subtypes. Understanding the subtleties of the subtypes is crucial for accurate diagnosis and effective management. It's also important to recognize that individuals with this condition may present differently over different times, highlighting the need for a balanced approach to diagnosis and management. Now remember, diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder, as for any other personality disorder, requires evaluation of long-term patterns of functioning. So one needs to be cautious not to jump to hasty conclusions. This information is to raise awareness rather than stigmatize any condition. Recognizing the signs and self-awareness is the first step towards making change. As humans, we all have strengths and weaknesses. When we are self-aware, we can change things. But when we don't recognize the patterns of behavior, they can cause distress to ourselves and to others. If you have enjoyed today's video, please subscribe to my channel. The more subscribers I have, the more opportunities I have to make more creative videos. Like it, share it, tell it. Tell it to all the people you know. Thank you for watching.